Hey guys, how you doing? This is JP Saricolia coming to you once again with another episode of Age of Heroes, my podcast. And in today's podcast, we are going to talk about the poisonous search of approval. And we're going to explore the ills that come with trying to, as a collector, as a person that participates in any type of collectible, any type of hobby, looking for approval from your peers can be very, very dangerous. So we're going to discuss that in today's podcast. So stay tuned. But before we get into it, I want to thank those that support this channel, those that like the channel in YouTube, that subscribe to the channel. Thank you for leaving your comments. I appreciate your support. Also, thank you if you're listening through iTunes, Stitcher, or Spreaker. Thank you for listening to the podcast. You can always share the podcast too through your social media networks, through your friends. Thank you if you do that. And also to those that support me financially through Patreon, PayPal, and GoFundMe. Thank you very much. You keep me in the air. So now, without all those preambles, let's get into it. It's definitely a good point. Starting this week, I want to share this with you so you can consider the important factors that sometimes brings us into collectibles. There's a lot of reasons why we collect things, whether it's video games, whether it's action figures, whether it's statues, whether it's anything, movies, diecast, whatever. We are constantly purchasing things because we love this. The reason why, first of all, the reason why we collect things is because we love these things, because we love the culture around it. And there's a specific type of person that becomes a collector. Not everyone can be a collector. A lot of people can like, this type of hobbies. They can like the in this case, the pop culture, things. They can like these franchises, whether there is Marvel, DC, Star Wars, whether there is anime, manga, animation, film, all of that. There are people out there that really love this. And a collector is not necessarily just a fan, a day-to-day fan. It's a person that is invested into this franchise and loves the franchise, sometimes in a way that goes to the extreme. You have to be very extreme to become a collector. And there are many and plenty collections out there. Plenty collectors that they have some of the most outrageously beautiful collections ever. They're huge. They take over a house. They take over a room. And also there are small collectors. They have a smaller collections that are more representative of who they are. We all have differences. We all have different things that we like, things that we prefer. We prefer certain things over others. For example, with statue collectors, some people love museum pose statues. Some people love action pose statues. Some people love 1/4 scale. Some people love 1/6 scale. Some people love smaller scale. Some people love big bust or large scale pieces like 1/3, medium scale, large scale, extra large scale, whatever scales. There's always someone that likes something, and as long as there's someone loving something, there's always going to be products in the market. There's going to be companies producing, in this case, products for this customers, for this people, because that's what they love. We all have differences. Every person that comes to this channel, I know many of my friends here on this channel, many of you, many of the subscribers here, they have differences. Some people are here because they love the comic book stuff. Some people follow me because they love statues. Some of my initial followers follow me because I used to review statues. That's how I started. And of course, then I went into books, and a lot of people are following me because omnibuses, and there's a lot of omnibus collectors, book collectors out there. Some people even follow me because of the movie reviews. People that love movies, they collect movies. Some people follow me because they like to probably listen to the sound of my voice and have this conversation through the podcast. Every person has a different motive, different reason why they come to this channel or to the podcast, because they want to hear things and they want to talk about certain things, to start a conversation about some of the subjects that really matter to us. And to me, collectibles are something so important. It's a big part of me because I've been collecting since I was a kid. And like I said, to be a collector is more than just being a person that loves something, a franchise, or loves a different thing. There's something in you that you want to preserve pretty much the essence of those things that you love so much since you were a child. And there's something that, I see nowadays, of course, as collectibles and as a lot of this industry, so this hobbies, the geek culture, the pop culture stuff has expanded, exploded in a way that is great through films, through a lot of social media. You're going to see that a lot of these franchises are really bigger than ever. They're larger than ever. Many of the kids that grew up in the 80s and 90s are older, and of course they love these franchises and they support these franchises, whether it's collectibles, video games, anything that has to do with it. We put our hard-earned money into it because we love it and we want to preserve it the way we remember it. And it's phenomenal to see this explosion of life of people coming in. I started collecting many years ago, probably around, it's close to 20 years ago. Between 20 to 15 years ago, I started collecting. I was very young, started collecting. Back in the day, statues, when a lot of the statues, and I was already collecting die-cast models at the same time. It was a time where I remember statues were very, there was a niche market. The only places to find statues was at comic book shops. Go to comic book conventions, and you will find, pretty much the garage type of, of statues. There were not a big companies out there really pushing stuff. Bowen Designs was the first company that really started producing stuff on a larger scale. Of course, with a franchise, was the first company that was able to manage to get the Marvel license and started producing the minibus line, which was very popular back in the day, and other things. And of course, also you have other companies. You had DC, and they were producing their own content, but also you have other companies, French companies, American companies. There was a bunch of companies producing different stuff for different franchises. But I remember statues were very, very small. They were like probably a 110, 1.9, even smaller, 112. They were very tiny little pieces, hand painted. They were beautifully crafted, but they were not as perfect as they are, nowadays. But then, of course, a lot of other companies are coming into on board. Then you have Sideshow Collectibles, which became huge and one of the biggest companies, and it's still the biggest company right now in the market, controls the market here in North America, and technically kind of around the world, although there's other companies out there like XM Collectibles, Prime One from Japan. But they're not necessarily the only companies out there. There's companies in Malaysia and Singapore, companies in Europe that definitely are pushing the envelope, Iron Studios in Brazil, companies everywhere. There's companies everywhere. And now there's also a big expansion of the garage market with the customs, people doing their own thing, doing stuff on their own, on licensed products, but some of them are phenomenal. And the art is just tremendous. It's just magnificent. Now, and that's as we have seen the growth, and I can tell you one thing, YouTube has been one of the biggest expanders or tools to push this into the forefront. Like I said, years ago, there was no much to really know about statues. You have to go to those cons to find these things. You have to go to the forums, which were back then very small in comparison. And they were the only place to hang out with people. Forums, I love forums. I expressed it many times before. I really enjoy forums. Although I'm not a big forum fan anymore. Not a fan, but a follower as much as I was, because they're a dying breed. They're not as fast-paced. They're not as up-to-date in regards to you compare them with Facebook groups, and definitely it's not the place to go. You can now go in social media. You have Twitter, you have Facebook, you have YouTube, you have all these different outlets where you can see things up close and personal. You can visualize what you're seeing. You can interact with the artists, with the creators. So it's a more direct contact, which also brings a lot of problems. What it has done is has brought a lot of people into collectibles. And I'm talking about statues, but not necessarily only statues, because you also have action figures, which is also big, with Hot Toys and, other companies as well. So all of this is bringing a lot of people into collectibles. And it is bigger than ever. The communities are bigger than ever. Like I'm going to these groups. I remember when the groups started in Facebook, and initially I started with these groups when they're very small. There were small groups where only have like 30, 40, 50 people. You have some of the biggest groups perhaps with 100 people, 200, 300. Then it went into 1,000, 5,000. 5,000. And, having a group with 5,000 members was huge. But now these groups are going into the 50,000, 20,000, 30,000. The same happens with a lot of these channels. I remember when channels started back in the day when I had my channel with statues, I only have like a couple of hundreds of followers. That was a small niche group. But now you have group channels that have like 5,000, 6,000, 10,000, 20,000. Their channels are growing and expanding, and this is growing in a really fast pace. People are interested in collectibles more than ever. There's websites, there is podcasts, there's all kind of places where you can hear information about collectibles. And it's amazing the progress that we have seen so far. And also this has brought a lot of new customers, new people, which is a great advertisement for companies. People are seeing people, watching reviews. They're talking to people. They see videos live with a lot of collectors. So it's becoming such a monumental place, to be. And a lot of people, because a lot of people love the trends. A lot of people follow this because it's cool. It's super interesting. I can tell you one thing. I started collecting big time. I've been collecting for many years, but I got really into it really big time and the beginnings of YouTube, when YouTube started popping up the first channels, producing content for, statue reviewers, starting reviewing like Alcacel. I remember those were the initial ones. Even Statue Hunter 75, which happens to be Dean is a friend of mine. Definitely, that's how it really became really big into collecting, because of this initials channels. And of course, nowadays, many of the channels are no longer gone. They're not doing any more, producing more videos, personal reasons. They just moved on. But there's other channels that have grown, have come after. Some channels are growing really fast, and they only have a year, 2 years pretty much live, and you see all this growth in the community, and you see groups popping up everywhere, and there's a lot of pages and a lot of followers. And sadly, and I'm going into the detail of today's video. Sadly, there's a lot of toxic people too in these groups. A lot of toxicity, a lot of people that are really, you're looking at the attention seekers. You're looking at people that they're there not necessarily because they want to, I would say, to give something to the community and to help the community. They're just there for their own personal gain. There's a lot of people that are there that are only there for personal gain. And unfortunately, it really waters down the experience for a lot of collectors, particularly those that have been collecting for many years. I can tell you one thing. I don't consider myself the biggest collector in the world. I have gone through a lot of collectibles. I have worked with forums, and particularly I used to be, of course, a head reviewer for Statue Forum for a long time. I know a lot of people in the industry, a lot of big collectors, some of the biggest collectors in the world. I'm a friend with some of them. Some of them, they don't really participate much in social media. But the people that are more outspoken are just these newcomers. You see a lot of newcomers into the hobby. And some of them are very abrasive in their personality. Unfortunately, he brings all kinds into the table, which is good that you have people from all over the world and, all type of genders. I remember when it used to be just males. Now you see a lot of females and a lot of women. And I like that. I like to see women. I like to see people from different ethnicities, different nationalities, people from Europe, from Asia, from Latin America, people from Australia, people from, Africa, Middle East. I have friends from all over the place through, collectibles. And I love the interactions that I have with many of them. But also you bring a lot of people that aren't necessarily, they're collectors, they're brand new collectors, but they come with a mindset that is totally different than the mindset of the previous generation, which was collectibles. They're more into the entertainment part of it. And definitely this is something sad, because I do see also a lot of people, and sometimes, even you get into in the Facebook groups, and, sometimes some conversations become very heated, but to the extreme. I remember in forums, it was difficult really to get heated. They got heated, but there was a limitation of the things that you could say. You couldn't use foul language, you couldn't say this, you couldn't say that, you couldn't bring religion into this or politics. It was a way for them to filter the communication. It's easier for mods to do it. However, with Facebook, you don't have the same limitations. And of course, into this banner of free speech, you see people attacking personal people based on religion, based on race, based on personal profile, based on personal facts of life with something that forums didn't have, because technically there's a privacy into every profile. You are a private individual. You are just a persona. For the longest time in my life, I was JP Sari, and people always knew me as JP Sari through the forums, and that's all they knew. They didn't see my face. They didn't know who I was. It wasn't until a couple of years ago when I actually presented my face for the first time in this channel. And you know what? But those barriers have come down. People can see people face to face more than ever, and it's good and it's bad. It is good because it brings more. It brings these people together. You become friends. You get closer to people. People on a much personal basis. It's bad because it also brings you as a person into the forefront, and now people can look at your life and they can make judgment of your life. And some people definitely, primarily the immature people in the groups, are going to judge people based on a lot of factors that had nothing to do with what you are in that hobby, or in this hobby, or in that group in the first place, with in this case, collectibles. And it is sad that it's happened. Now, the reason of this video and the reason of this title, the poisonous surge of approval, it means that what I'm trying to convey today is that it's very dangerous. It's dangerous to try to seek people's acceptance or approval from people. No matter what happens, no matter what you do, you're always going to ruffle some feathers. No matter how you say it, no matter if you say it nicely or not, some people are always going to misconstruct what you say, or they're going to misunderstand what you say. And sometimes it's a personal bias thing. And sometimes people have a poor reading comprehension. And sometimes people seeing through things beyond that. And sometimes it's just their insecurities, the immaturity. And sometimes people, they're just looking for a fight. They're looking for a reason to fight, maybe to blow some steam, and trying to let go because they have frustrations in their life. No matter what, you're always going to get into these conversations with people. They're going to be toxic, and I've been through that many times. I'm the type of person that I'm a thinker, as you can see that I'm a thinker. I sometimes say things faster or think faster than what I'm thinking, so sometimes things don't come across as proper. And of course, English is not my first language; it's my second language, and so sometimes things can get in the way. They can get all distorted, and I might be the cause of doing that. But I try to be as explicit, but at the same time, but I'm trying to be as clear as possible without really hurting people's feelings. And sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes people get hurt. And sometimes it's not because that's my intention. It's because people already are prone to it. Some people are just prone to be offended. And you're always going to find that everywhere you go. The best thing to do is just to walk away. Sometimes it takes me a little while to walk away from these conversations. I have to say something smart back. If somebody says something smart back, the other day I had a person that was just saying some stuff. I just a person asked a question. The person replied with a really aggressive, had an aggressive response, and I just went back and I said, well, you are right, because he was right in some points. But I said, I think what he's inferring is this. And of course, the person went into the personal attack right away. Started just saying names, calling me names, and calling all F this and F that. Of course, he received the same response from me, the same level of energy. And then, of course, he's trying to say, well, you're a big this or big that, or you're a big collector, then show me your collection. Post your picture, because I want to see what you got. And to me, that was like, I'm not going to get down to that level. I'm a collector. Been a collector. As you can see, my collection, or the things that I've collected, many of them are open. I told them you can watch my videos, you can go to the forums, you can watch my pictures, you can Google my name, JP Sari, you'll find the information. I don't need to justify myself to you. I don't need to express who I am to you. Whoever you are, it's your life. I didn't ask you, show me your collection. I'm not comparing here, this with yours. I'm not comparing your collection with my collection. That's not the point. We started a conversation. I give you an answer, and you just took it in the wrong way. You took it as an offense. And that's your problem. I ain't going to play with you. I'm just going to let you go. You stay here. I'm here to talk with collectors. I'm here to have conversation with collectors, not with wannabes, not with groupies, with people that are here just because it's cool to be a collector. Because right now, like I said, everyone wants to be a collector because it's the cool thing, it's a trend. But trends go away, they come and go. A lot of people come and go into collectibles. Collectors are those that have been collecting for years, are collectors that had started since maybe they were kids, and they love what they do, and they stay regardless if this or that, And the problem right now is that you see a lot of trend seekers and a lot of attention seekers, and you get to see a lot of people that are only collecting something because it's something. They're looking for approval, maybe because they don't have it at home, or they don't have it at their job, or they don't have it at their life, and they're here to seek that. One of the things I love when people showcase their collections. I love to watch people's collections. I love when people showcase their new stuff and they do it. Look at this, and they have questions. But I also can see the people that they just do it as a way to brag about it, just to brag about it. And I never felt the need to brag about anything. I personally don't brag about what I have or what I don't have. Like a collector, I've been through collections. I have increased my collection. I decreased my collection. I sold pieces, I bought pieces, I traded pieces. I've done everything collectors normally do to keep what I want. In recent years, like I've been doing a lot of stuff with this channel now. When I started, I sold a big chunk of it. I sold a lot of pieces because I needed the money in order to sustain my vision with this channel and with the podcast. And so right now I'm not really much into collectibles as much as I was. But doesn't necessarily mean that I'm not a collector, because I'm always going to be a collector. I'm always going to love these things. It's always going to be a big part of me, whether, the world changes, whether the economy changes, whether the prices changes, whether they go up and down, whether the companies, the people lose steam on it and they move on into other things, whether a company closes, because companies also go through process like Bowen Designs, win and close, whether a company like Vikia closes a line, like they close the line of the fine art or statues, whether they do all of those things, I'm still going to remain, because it is who I am. It's part of me. It's always been part of me. I see constantly people that they get tired of this and move on. They move on because they were here just as trend seekers. They were here just for the time because they were looking for something to entertain themselves, or they were looking for friendships, but not necessarily because they care about it. Ultimately, my purpose is not, although I love the friendships I have, I still love the art, and I love the collectibles, and I love the statues. And I love it regardless if people stay here, regardless of the value decrease of my pieces, regardless of anything, because I care about this. These things are, they might not mean a lot to a lot of people, but I love to keep them, but also to keep the art, because it keeps the art alive, particularly when the art represents the characters, as we remember growing up, whether, we read the comics, watched the movies, the cartoons, all of that. Definitely, it is very difficult, and I can tell you one thing, and I can recommend this to you. If you want to take away from this video today, it's very simple. Whatever you do, if you are a collector, whether you collect action figures, whether they're expensive or not, whether they're small, little scales or big scales, or, fancy scales, or whether it's statues, die cast, omnibuses, retro gaming, whatever you collect, do it for yourself. And I said that before, do it from the heart. It was in a podcast, an episode that a lot of people love. Do it from the heart. Do it from your heart. Do it not seeking attention, not seeking the approval of people, because regardless, you're going to have people that are going to like what you present, but some people, are not going to like. Some people are not going to like it. And some people are going to criticize it. And some people, not only that, they're not going to criticize it, they're going to criticize you because of their perception. Whether it's ill or not, they're going to criticize you, whether it's because of jealousy, because they disagree with you, or whatever reason, because they had a bad day, they're going to disagree with you. So don't seek for that attention. Do things to please yourself. I presented a video not long ago where I talk about tips for people that are getting into statue collecting. Follow those tips. Whatever you do, don't compare yourself with the big ones, the people that have been here the longest, or the people that have the biggest things, because, that's something that might just not last. I've seen so many collectors that they started just like that, get so many stuff. They got in debt for so quickly. And then a year, 2 years later, they sell everything and they walk away, because technically they were not here, for the collectibles. They were not here to preserve the art. They were not here because they were true fans. They were here just because they were attention seekers. So they were finding something to do to try to compensate for something that they're dealing with, whether it's emotional, physical, economical, whatever reason. And a lot of people do that. And a lot of people here that's looking for that attention, and they're looking for approval. Just do what pleases you. Follow your heart. And I said that many, many times. Whatever you collect, it should represent you. It should represent what you are, who you are. And whether there is a small scale, whether there is a large scale, whether there is buzz, whether there is, China dolls, I don't care. Whatever you collect should be you. And if people don't like it, so be it. It has to be what you like, because ultimately you're the one that has to please yourself, and you're the one that has to live with that collection. People are gonna come, people are gonna go, friends will come, friends will go, acquaintance and all that. But ultimately, you're going to remain with that collection, and of course, that collection is going to change, is going to evolve. Times are gonna be rough, and sometimes times are gonna be good, and sometimes it's gonna grow really fast. It's gonna grow really slow. It's going to decrease. But do whatever you need to do in order to please yourself. Do it from the heart. So once again, thanks for watching this video. You're doing this through YouTube. Thanks for listening if you're doing it through iTunes, Stitcher, or Spreaker. Do not let the poisonous ideas or the poisonous search of approval destroy your vision. Don't let that put that poison in your life that really stop you from enjoying what you're doing. The most important reason why you're doing what you're doing is because you're looking for enjoyment. This is something that brings joy. And if it doesn't bring joy, then of course you need to change something. And one of those reasons, maybe you need to stop, walk away from the toxic people and the naysayers and the people that they're looking for is for a fight. So that's my recommendation for you for this week. Keep that in mind. I hope the best for you. All the blessings throughout this week, throughout your job, your family, your health, your collection, your finances, whatever reason. And don't forget, if you're watching this on YouTube, like, comment, and subscribe. If you're listening to the podcast, please share it with your friends. You can do that through social media. Follow me on the different social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and also consider supporting me financially. You can do that through Patreon, PayPal, and GoFundMe. All the links are down below. So God bless you. I'll talk to you again. Bye-bye.